Good morning, everyone. As you can see, I'm putting the old white to work hauling firewood. If you saw where I was running that hydraulic excavator, a neighbor was taking out fence line and burying rock piles, and all the scrub trees were getting cut out, and I haul them home. I've been hauling them home. It's only less than a half mile from home to burn in my wood burner. But I had problems with the old white. I don't know, 58 years old and finally have problems with it. It's the hydraulic clutch. The hydraulic clutch has always kind of been in the back of my mind that it was keeping on working, because we all know how hydraulic brakes work when they get old, what happens. And the reason I think it's in the master cylinder, because it's not losing fluid, but the clutch isn't releasing. I looked underneath, I tried readjusting, I got it to disengage like one more time, but it's not leaking externally either. So I'm thinking it's leaking internally in the master cylinder. So I'm gonna mount the camera underneath so I can see if the mechanism moves while I push in the clutch. And if it doesn't move while I'm pushing in the clutch, it's full of fluid. It would have to be the master cylinder. Now I'm hoping this is the adjusting nut for the rod. So it's dark under here yet this morning. I'm hoping I'm going to see if that moves at all when I try disengaging the clutch. I tried disengaging the clutch 3 times. There's really no pedal pressure at all. So now I'm going to look at the video and see if I can see that adjuster not moving at all. Good morning. It's the day after Christmas. It's a few days later. I want to pick up where I left off with my 65 white. The clutch wasn't releasing. If you could see in the video, when I pushed in on the pedal, there was no resistance and the rod underneath didn't move. And when you check the master cylinder for the hydraulic clutch, yes, it's full of fluid, but it's not leaking fluid. So it's not leaking fluid externally anywhere, but the clutch doesn't disengage. So I'm suspecting an internal leak in the master cylinder, that it leaks by the cup and then it just goes back up into the reservoir, because I've seen that happen with brake master cylinders already. So I'm going to get at trying to get this master cylinder removed. It really shouldn't be much getting it removed, but then again, you never know. Oh, this side there was a nut on the stud. The other side I see it's the head of a bolt. So that's going to tell me probably already that I'm going to have a wrench on the inside. Oh, I was hoping to just be taking nuts off the studs. So it's already gotten more difficult. It's got 3 bolts or studs holding it on. I'll try the 2 that are nuts and studs first. They all must be bolts. The nut came loose, but now the whole bolt is turning. That would have been too easy to have fixed studs, I guess. All depends how hard it'll be to get at them on the inside. So now I gotta go get a light and look underneath. Well, you can see under there the bolts shouldn't be too hard to get at. This would be easy if I were two people, but you know how it goes when you can't be on the inside and the outside at the same time. So I'm gonna try clamping a vice grips on them, see if I can. The bottom one I know I can, but I don't know about the two side ones, because you know how it goes when you put a box end wrench on it, it keeps falling off as you're turning it. So let's see what kind of luck I can have with getting vice grips clamped on them each as I take the nuts off. I got a vice grips clamped on the first one. I'm not going to bore you with me fighting with taking them out, but we'll just go ahead and see if we can get them out. Oh, here I guess maybe I didn't hit the record button. I got the last bolt off, pulled it out, and you can see it has been leaking externally here some, so I'm sure it is going to be a case of taking it apart, honing it out, and putting in some new cups. Years ago you could just go to the local auto parts store and they'd have them on hand, but I have my doubts if anybody has them on hand anymore. I'll probably have to find a place to order some from. So we'll get this in on the workbench and take it apart. Well, I'm down in my warm, dry basement. And we're gonna pull the snap ring out. See if the piston will come out. Sometimes you bounce them like this and they'll come out. Yeah, it moved some. See? There, and out it comes. And there it is, really cruddy looking in there. So what happens when it has an internal leak, it'll leak by this one, so it won't work. And then in this chamber, this seal will catch it, and then it just goes back up through a hole back up into the reservoir. But when you punt, if this one doesn't hold, it won't push the clutch in. Let's wipe it off and see the condition of it. I wonder if it's original. You can see it's disformed here. I don't know what caused that. And it must have been like that a long time because it's worn a lot thinner there. I don't know if you can see how thick it is here. And here it's just knife edge thin. So it's a 1.5, so I have to try and get a 1.5 inch cup. I mean, in an emergency, I'd clean it all up and put it back together, and it could very possibly work, but it isn't like I'm on the road in an emergency. I was fortunate it broke down at home. I mean, in the neighbor's field, wouldn't have been so bad. I'll have to clean all this stuff up good. Now the secondary one, we'll see if we can get that off. I'm going to try and get them both if I can. Oh. Had it and got away on me. That one looks to be in better condition. But like I say, this one doesn't hold the pressure for releasing the clutch. This one just catches any of the fluid that goes by this one, because even when it's perfect, a little something might go by it, and then it'll feed the fluid back up into the reservoir through a second hole in the reservoir. Let's see if the spring will come out of there. And there the spring is. I'm going to feel inside there once, see how pitted it looks. Because, dot 3, brake fluid takes on water. So it could get them pretty pitted at times. It's got some pitting, but it's such a little bit. It's more like just a little etching. I think it's going to be fine. I clean it out. Well, I'm going to get on the internet or on the phone. First, I will still try the local auto parts store. You never know. The one I went to for the last 50 years, they might still have some stuff on hand. But I'm having my doubts because they've been bought out a couple of times. And, the newer companies, owners have a tendency to send old stock back to get out of the inventory. Where the original owners, 30, 40 years ago, they'd hang on to stuff forever. And you can even see, though, like this piston is aluminum. And like I say, brake fluid will take on moisture. Look at the corroding on that aluminum and the marks it left leaving this cup. I'm thinking that this is probably original. So I'm going to see about getting cups for it. So I'll get back at you and let you know how I do on my search for that. Well, I ordered the cups for it, but it says maybe not till January 6th. Of course, then again, maybe they'd come tomorrow. But because it's so easy to take off and take apart, I think I'm going to clean it up, put the original cup back in it, because I really need this thing running to haul that firewood out as soon as the ground freezes again, because they have the mini excavator there with a thumb on it for loading, and I want to get that loaded before they have to take the mini excavator and use it somewhere else. So I'm starting to clean up the cylinder. It's so big I can actually get right in with a wire brush to start out with. So I'll show it to you when I get it cleaned up. Like I said, I've decided to clean it up and put it back together with the original cup. I think it's probably going to work because I really have to get this thing going. And it isn't hard to take apart again if and when I got to redo it. So I haven't worked any master cylinders like this in probably 30 years. You know, back then it was commonplace to take them apart and rebuild them. Now you just buy new ones. In which I did find a new one online. It was real easy to find for $120, but you know me. $120 is another $120 you got to make if you're going to spend it. So, let's see what we can do about cleaning this one up. Well, I did find this amongst my stuff. Heavens knows when I made it, but I apparently made it with Scotch-Brite on it for polishing the inside of something. I'm going to take it and try wrapping sandpaper around it. And let's see, I think I'll wrap it in the reverse direction. Let's see what kind of a job that might do, polishing up the inside. Let's take a look in there once. See what it looks like. Well, I don't know if you can see in there much, but it's actually starting to look pretty good in there. There is some pitting on the bottom side, which is where it would be from moisture sitting when it sat for so many years. I'm going to polish it up a little more, clean it up, put it back together. Oh, I wanted to run it in reverse. It screwed off my bolt. I think we're going to call that good. You might be able to see it, you might not. There, deeper in, there really is quite a lot of pitting. I'm still going to put this together and give it a whirl. But I ordered cups. I don't know if I can cancel the order or not. I probably won't bother. They were only about $10. But if I have a problem with this, I might just get a new cylinder. Because if I get stuck on the road with no clutch, then that $120 cylinder would look pretty cheap. But I'm still going to put it together, see how it works. After looking at this closer, you can see on where my finger is there, it is worn knife edge there, and it doesn't have a real nice circle to it, radius. And I got thinking, I happened to find an old master cylinder, an old rear wheel cylinder from a 71 C60. And of course the pistons were stuck in it, but it's junk anyway, so I just beat on it. Got the piston loose, and I pulled the cup out of there, and it's an 1.5 inch cup. Maybe I shouldn't even have ordered that set, or them new ones. We're gonna clean this one up and see how it looks. I gotta kind of scratch the rust off of it with my thumbnail. You know, rust sticks to inner tubes, sticks to this the same. Well, I'm gonna keep cleaning it up. I cleaned it off with brake clean. And it actually looks quite good. So a little brake fluid on it. Some brake fluid inside the bore. Get some brake fluid in the bore. Oh. Now, if this were a brake master cylinder, there'd be a valve in the end here, so it keeps residual pressure on brake drums, brake shoes. That's why you can pump brake pedals when there's drum brakes to pump up pressure, because it doesn't let the fluid back real fast. But when it's a slave cylinder for a clutch, it has to let it back, so there's no kind of a valve in this cylinder. Otherwise, it's basically just like a brake cylinder. That. And this seal looks to be in quite good condition. Seal, cup, whatever you want to call it. Now, we'll get the snap ring back in. Where'd it go? Something's always got to fly. There it is. And the snap ring's in. So it should be ready to go back on. And hopefully it'll work. So we'll see you back outside. Well, let's see about getting this back on. It'd be super easy if it had studs welded in the, fastened in the firewall like most vehicles I've ever seen do, but unfortunately it doesn't. That's one. Oh, you probably don't have to watch me put the other two in. They'll just be the same. I'm putting a third nut on. Now hook up the line. Now we'll see if we got enough brake fluid left for it. Gonna loosen the line and see if it just gravity bleeds down some. That's a big cylinder bore, so it takes a fair amount of brake fluid to fill that up. Still going down. There's still movement in the reservoir. Well, I'm gonna go inside and try to pedal once. If I can get this cap started. So far there was no resistance on the pedal. I'm gonna crack the line loose. I'm just not getting anything so far. I'm pushing the pedal down now and blocking it. And I got fluid coming out here. Oh. I'll let the pedal up again. Now let's let the pedal up again. Still no pedal. I think I'm starting to get some pedal. Yeah. Well, it should start on this warm day if the batteries are up. Let's see if it'll work enough to dump the load. Well, let's see if it'll start. If it does, let's see if the clutch will work to dump the load. Well, we have success. The clutch works. So as soon as the ground freezes, again on top, I'll be able to go finish getting the rest of my firewood. So I hope you enjoyed it. I know it wasn't all the best videoing, but that's what it is sometimes when you just got to get a job done. And thanks again for watching. I'm going to try and get back at some of my other things. Wood splitters, skid loaders, stuff that I've bought over the past year that I just never got running yet. So like I said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.